We're here at the Design Summit, of course, for the New York Design Awards. Jeff Knoll, welcome.
Thank you.
You've worked on the project, the interiors, for the Gemological Institute.
Yes.
Or it has an acronym.
GIA.
GIA. What have you done?
Well, GIA is first of all, what do they do? They are the world's foremost authority on grading diamonds and gemstones. There's also a research component to their business, an educational component to their business as well. They're a nonprofit, and they're about 80 years old, so there's a lot of history to the
And what did they ask you to do? What was your role?
The project was a consolidation of their space. So they were located. They had been in their school was in one location, and their research grading lab facility was in another location. Both of them were old, dated, didn't function for them anymore. So they were moving primarily to consolidate them so they could function as one campus. And also they were moving to a new building that was recently put up. It was actually still under construction while we were designing their interior space in the heart of the Diamond District. So that was important for them. They were the anchor tenant, and since they are very well known in that industry, that was important to them.
Okay, so you were working with a space that was already under construction to do the interiors for an old institution that wanted to update their workplace for the current day. That was the task that you had?
Yes, that's
okay,
correct.
So how did you do that? What solutions did you come up with?
Well, first of all, we had to really spend a lot of time learning about the business. At Ted Moudis, we do a lot of corporate interiors, so this was a very different type of project for us. It was very, very technical. There certainly were a lot of other issues such as security, naturally. So we really started off the project by going out. They invited us to go out to their main campus in Carlsbad, California. So the entire team went, not only the design team, but the technical team, project management, and we spent about a week there touring their campus, touring their facility, going actually throughout each area in the labs and meeting with people. So we had a good understanding of how, what happens. A diamond enters this facility, and then where does it go, and what's the path that it takes. And so there was just a big learning curve for us at the beginning. Okay,
and then to translate some of that learning into the space itself, describe that process.
A lot of that was really working hand in hand with the client. We spent a lot of time, because it was a time for them when they were reevaluating their processes internally as well. So we spent a great deal of time with their team collaborating, trying to figure out exactly what happens in the space, how does it function, and they were changing things. So we couldn't really look at their current model at all for inspiration. So that was a little bit of a challenge. We were trying to design a space without a program right away. So we did, working hand in hand, we ultimately, of course, came up with the solution for them. And then from a more look and feel, a branding concept, we also worked closely with them, meeting with key people, having visioning sessions to understand, which direction they wanted to go in, because their current facility sort of lacked any kind of character, and their facility in Carlsbad was beautiful, but it was a little bit more corporate, and we wanted to give them a new brand that was befitting of their organization.
Okay, so can I get a quick sense, what's it look like when we walk inside?
It is, I would say, a combination of very modern, bright, light, technical, at the same time very warm and natural. So overall, there's a certain sense of like a spa-like, zen-like quality to it, which you wouldn't necessarily think of when you think of diamonds. But at the same time, it was important for us to convey a type of lab, like very white, modern, technically advanced feeling to it. So it was that dichotomy that really drove us in the design. So when you walk into the space, into the main reception, the entire back wall is glass, backlit, very white, bright. So immediately it gives you the sense of modernity, but it's coupled with natural materials. So you've got, walnut, and the main desk is an onyx slab. So it's really the emphasis on the beauty of natural materials, which is, of course, ties into what they do as an institute.
We've heard about another project today from Ted Moudis as well, which was about really transforming how people worked in their workplace. So you as designers are making people do things differently in neighbourhoods and, communicate. No office space, very, very different. So what is it that this project does that makes those within there who are at the Institute operate differently, function better perhaps?
Right. Primarily, I would say that would be in the grading lab. When we first toured their existing space, functionally, the workers need to work in the dark. So literally, these people are working in the pitch black. It wasn't just not a very pleasant environment at all. They're looking through microscopes all day long. So we working with the client, we wanted to really factor in the health and well-being, the psychological component to the staff who are working in the grading lab, and therefore we created a much more comfortable space for them and focusing on the lighting. So the entire lab, for example, has a large backlit ceiling. So it's like a stretched fabric, if you will, and it has the ability to dial up all the way to be, completely bright, like light we're sitting in now, or very dim. And so the dim light in that solution provides a functional dim light, but it also gives a softness to it. So it just has a nice quality to it. And in addition to that, we provided like a very high-end marble wall with some detail and texture to it, which it didn't really need to be in that space at all, but it sort of just said a lot as a company that that GIA felt that they wanted to give their staff this this amenity and sort of elevate the status of them. So in that regard, sort of the health and well-being of the workers was
really paramount.
Right.
And how has it transformed them? I mean, you obviously worked with the client. You had to get to know them very well. You spent that whole week there with your entire team, which is kind of unusual, I suspect.
Very.
Usually it's the design leads who do these sorts of things. So how have you then, therefore, because that sounds like they were pushing you to get to know them, but how have you pushed them to do things perhaps that they hadn't expected or weren't sure of doing?
I don't know that we pushed them in terms of work. In terms of the way that they work, I think that was much more collaborative. I think we pushed them more in terms of the look and feel and the design of the space. For example, a big part of the design was incorporating vitrines throughout the space, these almost like a museum quality. But we felt strongly that should be embedded throughout the entire facility. So you would have that in the area where maybe the executive offices are sitting, throughout the school facility, for example. So at the entrance to each classroom, students going in who are just beginning in the industry to learn about something, there's a beautiful showcase where there's $1 million brooch, for example. So we did have to kind of convince them to do that and to understand the value of that, because that was also a great expense. So I think that for sure was fell under that category. In addition, on the school, there was also a very large showcase that was sort of coined the fish tank, because it was this massive vitrine, and that created the wall, the divider between the student lounge and the corridor, and could be filled with a tremendous amount of products.
Sounds amazing. So, Jeff, diamonds or pearls?
I don't
Prince.
know. I
It's
think
got to be Prince.
Diamonds.
Diamonds? Yeah, diamonds. Yeah.
Well, I have to say that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's great to meet you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.